Hey everyone, you're in the right place. We're going to wait for a few others to log on and then we'll get started. All right, let's begin. My name is Allison Rendelman, and I'm team lead of the Customer Success Associates here at YCharts. Hosting our webinar today is our very own Connor Kitko, a senior analyst of the marketing team. Today, Connor's going to review how you can best leverage YChart's newest features in pre-built screens, charts, and scenario testing to help you uncover investment ideas and opportunities. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, you can submit them to the left-hand side of your screen, and your YCharts contact will follow up soon with the information you're looking for. Please keep in mind that the content of this webinar is meant for educational purposes only and is not intended to be used as investment advice, nor is YCharts acting as an advising party regarding client funds in any way. Finally, as always, we'll post a recording of this webinar to the support topics section of YCharts, as well as our webinar homepage, in case you want to review anything we went over or share it with your colleagues. Now, I'm going to kick it off to Connor to get us started.
Thank you, Allison. As Allison mentioned, today there are three main things we'll be talking about, and we'll talk about each of these through the context of finding opportunities and investment ideas in the market. The three topics are pre-built templates on YCharts, Quickflows and scenario testing, and then some additional helpful resources that every YCharts user has access to. We want to highlight these three aspects of YCharts to talk about time savings. These are all great tools to find buying opportunities quickly and easily so that you can free up time to spend on other things like talking with clients and prospects or what have you. We want to help you all capitalize on buying opportunities that you might find in the market. So with current market conditions, a lot of investors are wondering if there are opportunities, and if so, where are they? Well, the tools and the pre-built analyses that we'll cover today can help you find where those opportunities are. And finally, we just want to help you get more from your YChart subscription. So the templates and quick flows that we'll cover are all based on feedback from advisors who have been using YCharts for a while. They know the tool, and they're also based on investment research best practices. The additional resources that we'll talk about also cover investment research best practices and how you can get more out of the tool. But additionally, they show you some other areas of your firm or practice where YCharts can add a lot of value. So let's transition into the tool to get started. Starting from our dashboard here, where dashboard is always where we get our really top level view of what's happening in the market based on our watch lists and charts that we've decided to add. And we're going to talk first about these pre-built templates. They're available in most YCharts tools. So from any page on YCharts, hovering over tools at the top of your page, pretty much all of these different applications in YCharts have some form of pre-built template analysis that you can leverage when doing research and finding opportunities. So the first one that I'll click on today is the stock screener. So the stock screener is an idea generation tool, very relevant with the topic of today's webinar. And just like a lot of tools on YCharts, it allows you to access a lot of data and a lot of functionality, which enable some very powerful workflows and investment insights. If you just land on the screener without using any of the templates, then there are two buttons that this application is built on. This modify button allows you to set some qualitative filters for finding stocks. So if I wanted to say, show me all stocks within any of these sectors, show me stocks that are on some of my watch lists that I've built in YCharts that are part of the Russell 3000, what have you. The second button, besides modify, is this add filter button. And this is where I can set quantitative criteria for the stocks that I'm screening. And you can click browse to see all of the different quantitative metrics that you can build screens off of, whether it's returns, risks, relative to a sector or the whole market. And all of this functionality allows you to build some pretty powerful and comprehensive analyses. But if you're first getting started with YCharts, or specifically our stock screener, it can feel like you're jumping into a sports car and you don't know how to drive stick. You can think of our pre-built templates, and I'm going to click on New Stock Screen at the top left of the page, and the very first option here is New from Template. You can think of these as the kind of automatic transmission version of YCharts that's going to help you through your research process and make sure everything runs as smoothly as possible. A quick tour of some of the templates that are available in our stock screener. They're categorized by growth, value, specialty, and events. So if you're trying to find opportunities in the market, then and you subscribe to a growth investing mentality or value, then you have plenty of options here to pick from. And then also just some things, MLPs if you're looking at the situation with oil right now, REITs surrounding commercial and residential real estate, and then even some events-based templates surrounding IPOs, whether they've been good or bad ones. The first that I'll show, so if we come into the growth category, there's a template called Trailing Revenue, EPS, and Cash Flow Growth. So this is going to help us find companies that leading into the coronavirus crisis, they were performing well already in terms of revenue, EPS, and cash from operations. And this is good. You can see how the screener works to help you find good ideas. In parentheses, you see we started with a universe of more than 22,000 stocks. And just by opening this one template, we're already down to 105 stocks, which you can see listed down below. As these numbers get smaller and smaller with each additional filter, that is the screener doing its job to meet the criteria that we're setting and showing us the stocks that meet those criteria. Now, this is good. This shows us, like I said, who had some strong performance leading into the coronavirus crisis. But if we're considering a new investment opportunity, then we also want to know which of these stocks prepared to endure what right now is an undefined economic shutdown. Let's go into our Add Filter button, and I'm going to look at a metric for cash and equivalents on a quarterly basis. So I want to know which companies have sufficient cash and equivalents on hand in order to maintain their operations, keep the doors open during this new normal. I'm also going to build this filter on a percentile basis. So of the 105 equities that our template already limited the universe to, I want to know the top 25% in terms of cash and equivalents. So I'm looking at the top 25%, and then I want to say higher value is better. I want more cash, more equivalents on hand. Once I submit, you'll see that we went down to 27 equities. So that's the top 25% of the 105 that we started with. To add another dimension to this screen, I'm going to say what are for a relative price to book, and something definitely worth making note of is I just typed in rel PB, and YCharts is smart enough to know what I'm looking for. So it already shows me a few options for relative price to book. And this is one thing about YCharts that's very powerful. All of our search functionality, it's very Google-esque, and it's smart enough to know, hey, based on what you typed in, here's what you're probably looking for. And odds are you're going to find whatever metric you're looking for in YCharts. So I want to know relative price to book value for each stock relative to its sector. I'm also going to make this a rank filter because 27 equities is good, but I just want to see the top 10. That's a very manageable list. And with price to book, because I'm looking at how much am I paying for book value, I want a lower value is better, meaning that maybe these companies have oversold over the past couple months, or maybe they, for whatever reason, are trading below the valuations of other stocks in their sector, which could be a good buying opportunity for us. Submit this filter, and now we have a list of 10 equities. Looking at the results, we've got some recognizable names and also some that maybe we don't know as much about and we could dig in some more on. Now, we just worked from using the template, a universe of 22,000 stocks down to a list of 10 based on criteria of strong performance going into the crisis, cash on hand to survive the shutdown, and then relatively attractive valuations compared to peer companies in each stock's respective sector. We'll come back to the screen in just a little bit, but I do want to show some other templates that are available for you in the stock screener. Going back up to new stock screen, our first option is new from template. If you're a value-minded investor, one template that's worth calling out is the sustainable dividend. So I want to see stocks that have been able to sustain strong dividends. You can see that we, once again, starting with our 22-some thousand stocks, this filter got us down to a universe of 508 stocks. Well, if you are someone looking for dividend stocks while the market is down, get in on some attractive dividends while prices are low, here's another great starting point for you. And you can just add a couple more filters to narrow this list even further the way we just did for the previous screen. Talking about templates in some other tools, I'd like to show some in fundamental charts. Of course, we have some charting templates. It's in the name YCharts. Just like in the screener, if you click New Fundamental Chart here at the top corner of your page and New from Template. So I could have used all of these menus on the left here to build out a chart using, self-selecting for securities and metrics and everything, but these templates get you from 0 to 100 very quickly. So if you're just trying to understand broad market trends, especially with increased volumes of client questions right now, maybe you're looking for a great visual or demonstrative to help explain to your clients or internally to your colleagues the situation in the market right now. Major asset class charts looking at sectors and asset classes. Economic data can tell us things about mortgage rates, unemployment. Equity charts, just some very interesting major auto manufacturers, oil companies, pharmaceuticals. Charts of the Decade was a YCharts webinar that I actually co-hosted back in January with my colleague Rushi Shah, where we talked about interesting charts that told stories about the decade 2010 to 2009, that historic bull market, and a lot of the individual storylines during that decade. Coronavirus data, we have a lot of very high quality and informative data from a partnership with Johns Hopkins in YCharts to help you and your clients stay up to date on the developing and obviously very sensitive situation that is the coronavirus crisis. And finally, YCharts webinars. If you enjoy our webinars and you like the charts that we're talking about, here's a great place to come and check. For right now, let's show you how to make one of these templates very usable for your own needs. So looking in the major asset class charts category, I'm going to click Major Index Performance. And what this opens up for me, I'm in a percent change for these indices over time format. And you can see that my period, my time frame I'm looking at is the past year. Well, to make this very usable for a very real life situation, let's change this to a year-to-date time frame. So we're looking at index performance from the beginning of the year. And then I'm also going to add one security because these templates are great starting points, but let's make it customized. Let's make it usable. And let's say model portfolio, and we'll just pick one of these model portfolios that I have in my YCharts account and you probably have for your firm's model portfolios as well. I can also switch this to up here we have presentation view off or on. So I'll switch into presentation view. And from here we have a really clean chart that tracks this major indice performance, but then also includes that one portfolio that we offer to our clients. So the story here is that, as the market sold off, your portfolio, your client portfolio is in green. As everything sold out, the drawdowns weren't as bad. And then as this rally has started, keeping pace with the S&P 500 shown in purple. So that's a very telling graphic that you can just click up at the top here, export, download image, and then you can use that in any kind of client conversation to say, hey, the market has been bad, but this is why we stress diversification to protect you from the downside. And we worked from that template to get to this very usable and valuable visual. A couple other templates, new from template. Let's click on mortgage rate charts, so economic data, mortgage rate charts. You may know yourself from keeping yourself informed a lot about what's happening with mortgage rates trending lower, and then also new single-family household sales took a recent hit here. Home ownership rate actually started to climb in 2020, but these are great demonstratives to share with your clients so that you may be informed, but this can help you inform your client, potentially making a decision about selling a home, buying a home, probably one of the more valuable assets that any one person owns. Also, we touched a moment ago about coronavirus data, and so I would like to show this country data, U.S. coronavirus statistics, and really just to demonstrate how much coronavirus data we have available in YCharts. So you can see here at the top is coronavirus cases growing over time, hospitalizations, cases per day, tests administered per day, and so on. So as the situation is developing, this is a great place to come to inform yourself, inform your clients, and then maybe some of this information can be helpful for you as you are making those investment decisions or evaluating different opportunities. Awesome. So that's fundamental charts. And now the final tool that I want to show some templates in is in time series analysis. So time series analysis, as the name might suggest, shows us metrics for securities or economic data points over time. How have those trends changed over time? The charts are great if you're a visually minded person, but if you like working with data, or especially in Excel, you should definitely check out time series analysis. So back to our idea of trying to find good opportunities in the market right now. Let's look at some templates that we have. I'm going to click New Time Series Analysis, New from Template, and we have here our categories are based on the time periods that you might be looking at, whether it's monthly metrics, quarterly, or annual. And you can see we have major asset class, major indices, S&P 500 stocks, so it'll give you the return for each of those 500 stocks, and then also monthly returns for sectors. And this is the one I want to show you right now. So if given the recent market conditions, perhaps you're thinking about or considering which sectors to overweight or underweight from this point forward, this template just pulled up all of the sector spider ETFs for all 11 S&P sectors. And so maybe you're saying, I want to find which sectors I should overweight or underweight, and I want to use ETFs because, that's a little less risky than picking individual names. And in the market right now, there's a lot of talk about which companies can stay solvent, which companies will be ripe for consolidation. Maybe another firm in the market is going to buy them out. So we just want exposure to the sector, and ETFs are a great way to do that. Even further, we want to, see which of these sectors we want to explore, and we'll also add some specialty or thematic ETFs in here that perhaps some people might be considering. So FBT is the First Trust ARCA Biotech ETF. Lots of biotechs are performing well right now given the nature of coronavirus being a human health pandemic. BTEC, Healthcare Innovators. We'll add SKYY, Cloud Computing, which is also a industry that's getting a lot of coverage right now. And then finally, the last one I'll add is PSJ, Dynamic Software Specialty ETF. And I want to know, okay, I have all of these sector spiders that can give me exposure to just the broad sector, or do I want to consider something that's very industry specific or thematic in its investment selection? So I have my returns going back all the way to 2015 through, let's move this up to the current month. And our latest full month is April of 2020. And to add more context to this, I'm going to add standard deviation. Once again, you'll see that I just typed that shorthand STD space dev, and YCharts is smart. It knows that I'm looking for standard deviation. I'm going to select monthly returns over the look back period, all, meaning the security's total lifetime. Well, looking here, we can see both for each ETF its returns and then its standard deviation. I'm also going to click this summary stats button, and I'm going to click average. So what this does is at the top we have a purple average row for all of the ETFs that are in our list right now. So based on these 11, probably 15 ETFs, what was the average return on a monthly basis and what was the average monthly standard deviation going all the way back to 2015. Well, when you're evaluating these different options, which one is, your first choice or which one you think is a good opportunity, now we can say, have their returns been above the average of the peer group? Has the standard deviation been below the average of the peer group? And you can evaluate each of these ETFs against the average. You can also click the export button at the top right of your screen. You can export the data as a CSV, so you're just getting all of that data in the same format that you're seeing here, so a very usable format. Or if you're using the YCharts Excel add-in, you can export this data and it will be already linked to the YCharts database, so that every time that you reopen that Excel workbook, that model, it'll automatically be updated with the most recent data pulled from YCharts. Very powerful tool. And so now, we just covered a few of the templates. And like I said, if you hover over tools, there's templates in pretty much all of these different tools. But to transition, let's talk about another element of YCharts. The templates are great to give you some pre-built starting points for your research. And the next tool, Quickflows, helps you move all the way across the finish line. So going back to that screen that we had earlier just a moment ago, looking for companies with revenue, EPS, and cash flow growth, lots of cash on hand, and attractive valuations. On the right-hand side of the screen, you see this Quickflows tab. Once again, most of these tools in the drop-down, you will see on the right side of the screen a tab that says Quickflows. Once you type in a ticker name, so I just typed in Apple, you can see all of these pre-built analyses come up for us. And they're categorized by, maybe you want to learn more about Apple's dividends, you want to learn more about the business fundamentals, performance, you want to find some similar securities. And what's really cool is that as you change, I just had Apple, which is a stock, but as you change the security type, let's put in an ETF, these options for which Quickflows are available will automatically change based on that security type. You can see the same thing for a mutual fund. And now I just hover over these and it tells me a little bit more information about what this Quickflow does, what kind of analysis it will automatically build for me. So very powerful here with Quickflows. Now, on the opposite of this single option is comparison. So I can look at any number of stocks. Let's say I'm looking at Apple and Facebook, and it's going to put these two stocks or additional. It will go all the way up to 12 stocks or 12 securities. It will put them head-to-head for me in a couple of different ways, looking at margins and valuations, profitability, annual returns. In the context, once again, of finding great opportunities in the market, let's look at what we found via our screen earlier. So we came to this list of 10 stocks, which all, we know that they meet the criteria of our screen. So we like them for certain reasons, but we need to find one to pursue. I'm going to pick some names off this list that I know and I recognize. So let's look at Intel, let's look at Target, Anthem, and how about Accenture? So a couple different industries represented. We've got some tech, some retail, and we've got some healthcare. Let's keep rolling with this analysis to find which one might be our best opportunity going forward. Once again, we know that they meet these criteria for revenue and cash flows, but let's see how everything actually plays out in terms of performance. So I just clicked that performance quick flow, and here we are. It took my 4 securities and brought me into fundamental charts so that I can more easily compare performance. And we see here that over the last year, Target has really outperformed this group, posting about 71% gains over the last year. Intel, 32% gain, and then Anthem and Accenture, pretty much even over the past year. I'm going to change my time frame to year to date. And another thing that's good to see about, I guess, Intel and Target is that they're holding up a little bit better than the other two in terms of this recent sell-off and then the market's initial pull off of those March lows. So let's say, looking at this, that I really like Target. It had really good one-year gains, and it's held up fairly well considering the current market conditions. Anecdotally, people have been talking about, Target and Walmart making some big strides catching up to Amazon in terms of e-commerce. So I'm interested in Target as an opportunity going forward. I'm going to open up Quickflows again, still on the right side of the screen. You can see that when I reopen this, another cool Quickflows feature is that it carries those securities with me so that as I'm jumping from tool to tool, my securities list is staying in the tool, and it makes for a really seamless research process. So now I'm going to click on this single quick flow, and I'll add Target. And I can see all of these different options available for how I can dig deeper on Target and learn more about Target as a company. Down here at the bottom are the economic impact quick flows, and you can think of these as kind of a historically based stress test. And you can run this for a stock like Target, you can run it for a portfolio, a mutual fund, what have you. So let's see how Target performed during some of these historically significant market events. Like I said, we want to stress test Target. So one of these is called Recovery Bull Market. And now we'll see, this gives us a pre-built chart showing the growth of $10,000 in the range of March 2009 to March 2010. How did $10,000 in Target versus $10,000 in the S&P perform? Well, pretty well in Target. You can see in the purple line is outpacing the overall market. So that's good to know. If you expect a recovery now that is similar to what we saw in 2008, then this bodes well for Target. Now, if you're not as optimistic about this current rally, then another quick flow, a economic impact historical stress test that's available, is this sustained volatility quick flow. Clicking here, still in fundamental charts, but what this does is we're looking at a $10,000 investment, but this time over the period of January 2018 through January 2019, when we had, as this VIX panel is showing, some pretty heightened levels of volatility in the market. If you remember this last quarter of 2018, the market sold off pretty significantly, shown by the S&P in orange here. And Target was definitely a little more volatile, over this period, but when everything was said and done, held pace with the market, pretty on par with how the S&P performed over that time. So this is good to know if you're considering Target as an opportunity right now. One more thing on economic impact quick flows. I did touch on this earlier, but you can also imagine this being really good for client conversations. So let's say I put in our model portfolio that we were talking about earlier, and I want to say to a client or a prospect, we're recommending this portfolio for you, and look at how it performed in the 2008 recovery. Look at how the portfolio performed during the period of sustained volatility. And this is a very relevant to client and prospect conversations. If clients are concerned that current situation is another 2008, or it's similar to another event in the past that they were burned by, then these economic impact quick flows are hugely valuable. And going back to our target example, we can say that if you remember, we started from really nothing. We went into the stock screener and we opened a template and we added a couple filters that helped us find target. And then we took target into Quickflows to find out if this really was a good opportunity like our screener pointed us towards. We did all of this in YCharts by just clicking a few pre-canned analyses, adding a couple things to make them even more valuable, and we ended up learning a lot about target, and depending on your outlook for the future, may or may not be a good opportunity. So now I'd like to change gears slightly and talk about some other YCharts offerings that can help you get more out of the platform. In the support dropdown here, I'm going to click blog. So the YCharts blog, you can see it here with some of the recent posts and articles that we've shared. Well, the blog is very near and dear to my heart. I write a lot of the content that you'll see here. And so I definitely feel that if you're a YCharts user, the blog is a place that you can get a lot of value and a lot of resources to help you get the best of YCharts. So as a few examples, starting, this is the blog homepage, but here's a few specific blogs that are worth looking at and exemplify the kind of content that you'll find on the blog. So Quickflows, we just talked about them as a tool and showed some very real-world examples, but if you just want to learn more about using Quickflows and everything that it can do beyond what we talked about today, this blog post gives a really helpful breakdown of some really, impactful Quickflows that are available on YCharts. We also have this blog post extremely relevant right now, resources for client communications in a bear market. I and some others at YCharts collected some resources, some articles, and some visuals from YCharts that can help you, A, inform yourself, and B, pass on to clients to explain to them the situation that's going on right now. What's awesome is that, let's say you stumble upon a chart you really like, click here to view in YCharts. It's linked back to YCharts so that you can come from reading a blog, you see something that you like and you want to use for your own purposes, very easy to get back into YCharts. And now I can customize this further. Maybe I want to change the title, or I want to, if you have your logo uploaded, that would appear right here. And then once again, export, and I can download it, print it, send it to a colleague, send it to a client. So very helpful that all of the blogs are linked back to the tool so that, we're making it very easy and valuable for everyone reading. One last blog is this, I talked about earlier some ways that YCharts adds value beyond investment research. One of the ways that we add value is through helping advisors communicate with their clients. And obviously, client communications look a lot different today than they did a few months ago. So this blog talks about using Zoom with clients. Obviously, client communications look a lot different today than they did a few months ago. Well, we heard from our clients that they were using Zoom video for the first time to meet with clients virtually. This blog shows you how to set up one of those client meetings on Zoom, and then also gives you some really good resources to share while you're conducting a virtual meeting. So all of these YCharts visuals, once again, which are linked back into YCharts, are very well suited for a presentation done over Zoom or another video conferencing platform. If you are checking out the blog, once again, you found that from support, blog, then when you visit, you may see a pop-up that asks you to subscribe to the blog, which I would definitely encourage all of you to do so that you can make sure that you're staying completely up to date on all of the latest features, those resource packages that we compile as they become available, and more awesome ways to use YCharts. Now, talking about another valuable resource, if we look at the support dropdown again and click support topics, obviously you're all on a webinar right now, but I want to highlight how to register for upcoming webinars very easily within YCharts, and then also how to access past webinars we've recorded. So on the support topics page under client resources, you have a section called webinars. If we click register now for upcoming webinars, and then there's a quick snippet about what we cover in each of our webinars. If you just click this image, it'll take you to a registration page that talks about all of our upcoming webinars, and it's very easy to just click here to register for the webinar, and we'll send you information as that webinar happens. You can also look at past webinars, so if you missed one or you are new to YCharts, this is an excellent resource to take advantage of so that you can make sure that you know all of the features and functionality on YCharts, and then also we talk about recent market events and how you can use YCharts to discuss those market events with your clients. One more additional resource that's worth covering is Twitter. If you're on Twitter, our handle is just @YCharts. This is a great resource because A, it keeps you informed, and B, it also, YCharts has a substantial presence on Twitter, and we often engage with a lot of very well-known investment professionals. And if you're familiar with the FinTwit community of finance Twitter, very involved there, lots of idea sharing going on Twitter. So as a couple examples, here's a tweet from the very recent past where we talked about, with everyone staying at home, maybe there's some opportunities in gaming stocks like Activision Blizzard, Tencent, Electronic Arts, Take-Two Interactive. So looking at those stocks' performance under the current market conditions. Another tweet that I think exemplifies the kind of resources that we share on Twitter. We recently had our VP of Product, Caleb Etlett, had a conversation with a client by the name of Phil Huber, who's the CIO at his firm. And what they talked about was how Phil and his team leveraged the saving and sharing capabilities on YCharts. You know, how we covered all of these pre-built templates. Phil and his team build out their own custom analyses, but then save them down so that they're readily accessible every time that they log back into YCharts. And so after a quick tour of some additional resources that are valuable to take advantage of, to wrap everything up, we talked about pre-built templates, getting your investment research started and helping you find new investment opportunities. At the top left corner of each tools page, you'll see, after you just click new fundamental chart, new stock screen, whatever, new from template is the first option. We also covered Quickflows and scenario testing, which once you have that set list of securities, can help you get all the way across the finish line and compare them to each other to find that best opportunity for you at that time. And then finally, the best ways to access more helpful resources. If you click that support drop-down within YCharts, support topics and the blog are right there for you. I hope this has been helpful, and to get even more out of YCharts, once again, subscribe to the blog and tune in to our future and upcoming webinars. Thank you, everyone. We hope that you're staying safe and healthy, and I'll now pass things back to Allison.
Thank you, Connor, for showing us how we can best leverage the tools on YCharts to uncover investment ideas and opportunities. We hope this webinar was helpful in illuminating all the available content we produce here at YCharts that can be relevant to you and your practice. I want to reiterate that a recording of this webinar will be made available on our support topics section of our site, and as Connor showed us today, additionally on the webinar homepage. For any questions that you might have submitted during this presentation, your YCharts contact will be reaching out soon with the information you're looking for. Thank you all for attending today's webinar. We appreciate any feedback that you might have. If you have any questions regarding anything we covered today, please feel free to reach out.